there's three words that matter: stop, look back. And if you do that on everything you do, and maybe that takes a minute, you'll be way more successful.
Welcome back. Today we're speaking with Lorne Gertner. So Lorne he's a legend in what he's done. So get this. So he's a serial entrepreneur and architect. So he has 50 years of building consumer focused brands. So 50 years, but get this. So he's the founder and chairman and CEO of Hill and Gertner Capital. So they facilitated over $1 billion in transactions and over $3 billion in value across real estate, cannabis, and retail. So he co-founded and led Tokyo Smoke and sold it for $625 million. So just has had massive success going full cycle. And now he's actually taking on a new, we'll just say a new channel and a new, we'll say mission as well, which we're going to be getting into. So he's listen, I'm gonna stop it here, Lorne, because we could keep going for many times. But you're on the boards on the if you're advisory council on many different companies. You're situated in Toronto, and again, the resume just keeps going and going. But you're big time, so I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your experience with us.
Thanks. I'm excited to talk about what we've done and hopefully inspire people to find their passion and follow it.
Well, Lorne, can we maybe go back to the very beginning? Did you always know growing up that you were going to be an entrepreneur and, build all these businesses, or is it just
Yeah,
something you
no,
fell
no.
into?
I think I was born an entrepreneur. I think people that are really good at what they do are born that way.
Yeah.
So I'm an architect, but I'm not a born architect. But I'm a born entrepreneur. I probably from the time I was born. Right. And from I can go back to, being 4 or being 6 or being 10 and having a paper route. And I just wanted to make a lot of money.
Awesome. Now, what was your first big break, and was there like an early struggle story that you could share with some of the listeners here?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with being in the right place in the right time, and a lot of it has to do with relationships. And so I was in my second year of architecture school, and I was pretty much failing. As I said, I wasn't born to be an architect, and I was struggling because architecture was all about academia. I'm not an academic. I'm a very practical person. And so one of the professors, I'd done a presentation, and he said to me, he was a French guy, and he said to me, "You're, an idiot, basically, idiot, and you'll never be an architect, and you should go home and pick another career." And so I went home and I called my father, and my father said, "That's ridiculous." And I ended up meeting somebody pretty close to that same time who was from Boston, who basically came here to practice architecture, but didn't know anybody. And so he hired me for the summer, and I was dating this girl. And her father said, "What are you doing for the summer?" I said, "I'm going to work for this architect, Les Klein." And he said, "When you get there, call me and come up and visit." And so I got there and been working maybe a couple of weeks. And I said to Les, we should call Ben up and go see him. And we went to see, his name was Ben Ornstein. And we went to see Ben, and he's hired us to do the Holiday Inn at Yorkdale. We had done porches and, washrooms and, maybe a little addition. But that was a transformative moment. And at the end of the summer, Les said, there's funny stories around it, but Les said to me, "Lorne, you and I would be great partners. You know how to get the work, and I know how to do the work." And I can't remember the year, but 40 years later, we sold that architecture firm. It was probably second or third business in Canada, largest architecture business in Canada. I never worked at the business, but I probably brought in 25% of the work. And Les made it very clear to me at the beginning. He said, "Listen, Lauren, just bring in the work. Like, get the client to lunch, dinner.
Yeah.
All I want you to do is get them there. And if I don't close them and you have a problem with it, we'll discuss it after. But that's my job, is to close it, do the work, and make money. And it's things like that that happen to you that change your life, change the way you think. And it gave me an incredible platform without being married to it.
Mm,
And today I teach a master's course at Daniels School of Architecture at U of T, called Architecture as an Entrepreneurial Practice. And
mm,
it's really about the road less traveled, right? When you're a professional, what can you do when you don't want to practice architecture in the traditional way?
mm. That's amazing. So this course that you're teaching, is it from an entrepreneur mindset or perspective as to
Yeah,
how to go out and generate business, or what's the spin on
no,
it?
no, it's I bring in people that went to architecture school but don't practice architecture,
Mm,
like me, or people that use architecture as a tool to build their business,
got it. Excellent.
and really about disruption.
Mm,
So if you ask me, uh, what I really do, I'm in the disruption business. So we look for industries that are ripe for disruption. And I did that in the clothing business, which became the fashion business. I did that in the construction business that became design based development, and really did that in the cannabis business. Because if you look at all those industries, take cannabis as an example, you would buy it in a dirty, used baggie that somebody would lick, okay, and give to you, right? I mean, obscene, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And so we started packaging it like it was Louis Vuitton product.
Mm,
And it was same in, if you look back to the 60s, we built buildings that were really about construction. In Toronto, we founded Flying Forms, which, is an incredible thing in construction, but it wasn't design. And I would say that Peter Fried was one of the first to say, I'm going to bring design to condos, to construction. And it was a huge part of our success, was doing that. And I think that that's what uh, uh, we do, is we look at, industries that are struggling and try to figure out how to disrupt them and make them better.
and you created a course around this, and you teach it as
Yeah,
well.
10 years.
That's phenomenal, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, something like that, like looking for disruption. What would you say would be, a couple of key takeaway lessons that the listeners can maybe take away from this course that you teach, and maybe if not that, what you're, you have a skill set on finding these opportunities. Like, what is it that you look for?
I guess biggest and most important thing is the size of market,
Got it.
right? Is the market big? Really big? Because then I only need, like, 1% of the market, right? And so everybody comes to you with all these projections where they're going to get 5% of the market, 10% of the market. I've never seen a startup do that.
Right.
But 1%, or half a percent, right? Um, it's reasonable.
Got it.
So size of market, where's the pain in that market, right? And how can we make that pain go away? And in our case, can we do it through design excellence? And that makes us unique in the world wide, because I don't know anybody else that does that.
Design excellence. It's so interesting, how it applies to different industries. Like, for example, uh, our second business is a real estate investment firm. So we go in, we buy these multifamily properties down in the U.S. in these high growth markets, right? So value add mid 80s to 2010 range, and we go in, we buy these properties, and it's interesting because with my real estate residential background, it's like, of course, we're going to go in, we're going to renovate, we're going to stage the model suite, and we're going to stage the leasing office, and we're going to have a beautifully designed monument sign, and we're going to actually brand the building, branding. And You would be shocked, Lorne, of like the amount of arguments that I've had about this concept. You have 100 units, apartment units, and it's like staging and leasing is like it's like of course you're going to do that one unit, you make it really nice, expend the money because there's leverage, but the industry, that's not a norm. It's like, oh no, they're renters. They don't need that.
Right,
So
and yeah, makes total sense to me from
yeah,
my perspective, and I've obviously, I've done a lot of what you do, and, it's the pain. Where's the pain?
yeah,
The pain's, sometimes just a washer and dryer,
yeah,
right? And it may be just putting, those stacked units in, right? And so maybe taking a closet, right, and just putting it in, right? It's a huge pain point.
yeah.
And I just spent, I did this about 6 months ago. I spent 3 days, I think, with the smartest people in the world, not me, talking about what is a community of the future,
Mm,
right? So, what is somebody 15 thinking about a community and what's important to them when they're 25? And I was once called out because I was speaking in London at a conference, and they said to me, like, "Who's your customer?" And I said, "She's 15, because I want to get my brand in her head when she's 15. So when she's 18 and she's old enough to buy cannabis, she's going to buy my cannabis." I got a call an hour later from my son saying, "What the did you say?" And I told him, he said, "No, no, like, I just watched it. You didn't say that." And he said, "You need to come back and have media training." And I've been speaking my whole life, Mark.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I woke up the next morning, and on the front page of the paper was, drug dealer says
Oh,
his customer is
no.
15 years old, and
Oh,
the
no.
right. Um, but
Oh.
I'm the reason there's a medical cannabis program in the UK. So you have to sometimes do that to get attention.
Yeah,
I wasn't doing it to get attention. I was being realistic. And it's the same thing in your business or my business or anybody's business today. Who's our customer? And what's he, whatever, going to want in 5 to 10 years? And that's what I learned in the fashion business.
that's really smart. So how do you approach that when maybe they're like 5, 10 years down the road? So they're not currently going to be paying the bills, right? So you got to actually go after a market where they can give you, to keep the doors open as you're building a business and a brand. Is it a matter of like, okay, go after who the here now is, and then allocate a certain percentage to go after, that future client,
No,
or do you just go right off the bat?
we go after the future one right away,
Interesting.
right?
Okay.
And we plan our, time frame around that.
Okay.
Right? And so, currently we have a business called Arcana, where we build small little cabins, and we're reconnecting humanity to wilderness. These are 350 square foot cabins. They're 5 star, right? And uh, we know that that's what the customer wants, and
Yeah.
it's a minimum of 2 nights, maximum of 2 nights, and there's you can see what's happening trending. So if you look, every major hospitality business in the past 2 years bought a glamping business.
Yeah. Yeah.
We started and ours is a glamping business. We started it 5 years ago, right? And, we knew and we know from doing this for, by the way, it's more than 50 years, is that we have a formula. And the formula is we start something, it takes 3 years to become, uh, something that's realistic and to show the market that you're committed. It's the next 3 years is about building a business, and the next 3 years is about harvesting. So we know from 30 plus deals that it's 10 years.
10-year
And maybe
cycle.
somebody gets lucky, but we know. So we don't get stressed about if something doesn't happen.
Mm.
And the only, people say, "Wow, like you started Tokyo Smoke, and 3 years later you sold it for $600 million." I took the first cannabis company public in 2002. Okay, so that's what 20 some odd years before I sold my third cannabis company.
Got it.
And that first cannabis company, I think it was 2002, we took public. We sold that in 2016. So 14 years later,
Right.
it was painful,
Yeah.
but the win was huge.
Yeah. What do you think the main thing, so you find the pain, you find a big enough market, which is that totally makes sense. What do you think it is between, like Jim Collins wrote this book, Good to Great, and you take the regular companies and then you have these great companies that just took off. You've seen things like at ground level, you built them. What
Mhm.
do you think separates the companies that like hit like you did compared to other companies that maybe started at the same time, but they didn't cut it?
Um, a number of things. We know how to build a brand. We have an incredibly strong DNA. So we sold Tokyo Smoke, what, 2018? And it's 2025. The store looks exactly the same. Right. Okay. And if you look at my history, I've always owned black, white, and red. So if you look at Tokyo Smoke, or if you look at what I'm currently doing, which is Space Asterisk, it's black, white, and red. If you look at Mr. Leonard, my father's clothing company, which I ran for a number of years, it was black, white, and red. So I think it's really important to own a color when you're building a brand. And I've owned this color my whole life. And so people recognize that, and you don't think they do, right?
Yeah.
But the win for me is when you drop the name and you have the logo. And when I started Tokyo Smoke, I actually started it myself. And then maybe 6 or 8 months into it, my son joined me. And but it was really him. And I had made a number of presentations prior to that, and I went to a presentation he was making, and Justin Trudeau was there. And so I'm sitting a couple of seats away from Justin, and my son showed the Tokyo Smoke logo, the red oval, and he showed the Starbucks logo. And he said, "We're going to be the Starbucks of cannabis." And literally overnight, we went from being worth $8 million to being worth $100 million. And then I said to my son a couple of days later, I said, "That was brilliant, but you got it wrong. We're going to be the Blue Bottle of cannabis." And Blue Bottle had just sold 14 coffee shops to Nestle for $250 million. And that was the precedent. So you can now point to things that people saw and were realistic.
That's phenomenal. Branding is something that like I love that whole game as well, and like the consistency with it. For the listeners out there, what else gives you an edge when you're building a brand? Like, what are some of the things if you were to say? So you got the logo, you got colors. Is there and you got consistency, as you had mentioned years later, like like it was the same, right? So you were able to like systemize it and create consistency and deliverables there. That was a consistent experience. Is there, if you were to like say, okay, do these things to help create a brand? I know it's a combination of many things and how a client feels about you, but what would you say would be some other things that companies can do to establish a strong brand?
Um, find somebody who is a uh, serial fundraiser. I'm saying it the wrong way. That's not the right thing. But all I really do is raise money.
Mm,
I tell a story and I raise money. And 99.99999% of businesses fail because they don't have capital.
got it.
Right? And so all I do every day is raise capital. So I make at least 10 calls every day. It's very disciplined um, on the fundraising side. Um, and Most people tell a story when they're fundraising. At the end of the story, they say, thanks. Right. At the
Right.
end of, at the end of our presentation, we say, so 1 out of 10, how did we do? Are you in? Are you writing a check? And if you say, yeah, we get the sub agreement right out and we make you sign it right there and we get a check. We don't let you leave. Because if you leave, you go home and you talk to your wife and she
Yeah.
says, what are you, an idiot?
Yeah.
And you call your accountant the next day and he says, I can't,
Yeah.
I can't let you do this.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
it's
venture
yeah, it's a horrible
capital,
idea, the accountants, right? And the lawyers, of course.
they're
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
right because venture capital is gambling. It's risky. And I tell people right from the beginning is that this is like going to Vegas. But I've come back from Vegas more often with more money than I went with and I lose. And so that's what it is. And I tell people that want to invest in venture capital, you have to invest in 10 deals. So if you have 100,000, put $10,000 into 10 deals. It's the only way, and real estate's not dissimilar, Mark. I mean, it's I think everything's the same in that world. And so you have to, you don't want people to hate you, because they lost their money, but you don't want to scare them not to do it. Well, I think most people, just don't ask.
Mm, yeah. No. Uh, that's a good one. I mean, our kids know to ask, and they ask more than once. They ask many, many times.
Right.
I have 3 boys, so they're 17, 15, and 13, and they sure know how to be persistent. I'm like, man, you just take that same grittiness and just apply that to the world. You're gonna do just fine. Just trust
Right.
me.
Yeah, and I just had my 5th grandchild a couple of days ago. I'm about to have my
Congrats.
6th in a couple months, and
Amazing.
it's the same,
Yeah.
right? You have to, teach them good values, and once you do that, your job's done, other than hug them and love them to death, and if people have good values and they're good people, um, they do well.
Yeah. 100%.
And I would say just on that note is, capacity to work hard is a really important thing.
Mm,
Mm,
yeah.
so, I don't know anybody who's been really successful that didn't work like a dog.
Yeah. And I mean, just look at you with all of your success, you're still making 10 calls a day. Like that
Right.
is right.
Yeah,
And you still
because
do it.
when I get one, it's so, it makes you feel really good.
Yeah. 100%. And, it's interesting for me since we've launched this other business a few years ago, just the conversations are just different, right? When you're having, with the successful, entrepreneurs, and it's really just a very, it's like life giving. I found,
Mhm,
and so I want to go back to Lauren, your storytelling. So
mhm.
telling a story and then asking at the end of it. I love that. How do you create a great story? Is there like a formula that you follow, or is it just something you basically talk about the market and the pain, and that you have the pill for the pain, or is there an approach that you follow?
I think, my training as an architect, has a lot to do with that. So architecture teaches you how to solve a complex set of issues in an organized way. So I really, uh, I sketch a lot, and I don't sketch design. I sketch, strategies, and I keep sketching over and over again till I get that strategy to where I I, I know it's going to be successful. And then in my case, I find the smartest people and I get them in the room and I get the fuck out of the room as fast as I can. Because my success is not being in that room. My success is creating the strategy, articulating it, and getting the smartest people to do it. And I've learned that. And uh, and Tokyo Smoke's a great example. Is it was really my son who executed on the strategy.
Hmm.
So it might have been my strategy initially, and then he refined it, and then executed on it. And in my world, very few people, and your world, Mark, have both the hardware and software. So meaning that they know how to create something. So they have creativity, and then they have the software to execute. Right. And if you have an equal amount of that, and I would say maybe I'm 60-40, or maybe 60 on the creative and 40 on the operating side, that's a formula for success. And if you don't have that, you better have a partner who has that. So great partnerships, if you look at them, somebody had the hardware and somebody had the software. And if they're husband and wife, they were more successful than anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. I another way of saying it is like visionary or integrator, right? Like the big picture and then the ability to go and execute. That's really good. Now I'm curious with your sketching because it's something that I like doing as well. I like with my notebook. I got yeah. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Of course, I got my notebook there, and I just it's one of my favorite things to do, just to go out with the pen, with the coffee, and just quiet time and just thinking.
Mhm.
You're just kind of writing down, your goals and kind of different. So for the listeners out there, I think that concept is could be a little foreign. It's like, what do you mean sketching out strategy? What what does that actually look like for you? Of like, you go out, you're doing your research on a market, and then you start to okay, where can I connect the dots? And then you start kind of doodling and writing. What does that actually look like?
In a real simple way,
Yeah.
it's a bunch of circles and a bunch of arrows that connect those circles.
Hmm.
And so usually I start with a circle in the center, and then I have circles branching out. Right. And so it's not that I'm a sketcher, right? It's not that I'm using architecture to do that, because as I told you a number of times, I wasn't born to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
So I created, a very simple way to do that. Now I've gotten really good at it today. And the thing that I've learned, most people have a pad like you do. I have a big pad.
Oh, can
Okay.
you center it? Yeah, there. Oh, wow. Look at
Okay.
that.
And it's
Yeah.
this is a current strategy
Oh,
that I'm working on now, okay? And, it starts like that, and I keep layering over it
yes.
colors, right? And if you notice, I own black, white, and red. I start with red, and I'll layer over that till I'm happy. And what I'll do is in every meeting, I'll bring this up. Either I'll blow it up and give it to everybody, or I'll put it on a screen. I prefer to blow it up and give it to everybody, and then I collect the paper at the end, right? And I keep layering and I keep layering. And I have a sleeping issue. I think most people have one of four things, and one of them is a sleeping issue. And so I'm up, and I hate lying in bed trying to go to sleep.
Right.
So I get on my sketch pad and I keep sketching. But I would say that, when I was looking at all the questions you asked me, I would say, one of the keys to success
Yeah.
is lists,
Okay.
lists, right? And I'm constantly saying to people who work for me, make a list. Like, the way people are today is we've lost the uh, we don't write, right? We don't make lists. We have a
Mm.
computer, we have a
Right.
phone.
Right.
I would say I use my notes on my phone more than anything else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if somebody says, or I say to somebody, and you can imagine how many times I say something, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm
Yeah.
going to do this, I'm going to do that. and, but I put it on a list, right? And I may have 20 lists going, at one time, right? And, every night before I go to bed, I look at those lists and I say, "What could kill me?"
Okay, that's good.
Right, okay? And, I do those things that could kill me, and, I keep refining that. And it's simple, right? And people don't do it, right? It's not like it's something that I have a unique skill, everybody has it. But people just think, "Okay, I'll remember that," right?
Yeah.
And they won't, and,
Yeah.
it's detail.
Yeah.
Lists are really key, and just practical stuff. I use this thing a lot. I think it came from YPO. And I saw somebody speak one time, and he said, "Th- There's three words that matter: stop, look back." And if you do that on everything you do, and maybe that takes a minute, you'll be way more successful.
Hmm.
So I'm leaving an Uber. Stop, look back. What did I forget? Right.
Good.
I'm seeing my grandkids. I'm leaving. Stop, look back.
That's
Right?
good.
Did I tell them I love them?
Yeah.
Just things that are so simple that, uh, and those are things that I learned from people, right? A simple tool to help you execute a lot of things.
Stop, look back is really good because, it's interesting how history repeats itself and people keep doing the same mistakes. And it's like, we call them like after action reviews, even in business. It's like we do something big. We do deal, we stop after and we look back on the deal and it's like, what can we do better? And what went well at the same time and actually reflect on that. It's interesting.
Different, Mark, from what I do is I don't wait till the end. I mean, we obviously do a postmortem,
Yeah.
but I want to do it at every stage of the thing.
Yeah.
How can I, Jim Collins definitely had a big influence on my life. From good to great, is really important. It's the same as stop, look back. It's the same
Ongoing.
thing. And they were, I still use Jim every day in everything I'm doing. Is I think, how can I go from good to great?
Love
Whether
that.
it's in my life or whether it's in what I'm doing. And it's simple. That's such a simple
Yeah.
no-brainer for everybody listening. Stop, look back. How can I go from good to great in my life, in my
Mm,
work, in my everything? And
yeah.
it's usually one or two simple things.
It's so interesting how the really successful people they boil things down to simple things. It's so interesting, like the whole complex MBA is coming out. It's like, look, I got this 100-page business plan. Look at I'm like, how many times did you look at that business plan after you launch the business? It's like,
Right, you write a business plan so you know what not to do.
right.
Okay. You never stick to a business plan. That's your first death. Is to say, I wrote in the business plan, I have to do that. By the time you've written the business plan, half of what you said is
Yeah.
outdated.
Changed.
Right. So you just have to be able to, as much as I believe in perseverance, as I believe in being able to know when you're not right and accept what other people say and then pivot. And I would say every company that I've been successful in, it was the pivot.
The pivot.
We knew what we were doing wasn't going to make it. So we knew we had to pivot.
Is there some sort of filter that you have to know, okay, this is the time to pivot? Because for a lot of business owners, they keep going and they get hurt. Maybe somebody told them along the way, but they keep going, right? Because it's this internal, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going and but the reality is that the smart things sometimes can be like, you better stop what you're doing and go a different direction or else you're gonna get hurt. Is there a filter that you've used?
I mean, for me, I have a couple of people around me that are close to me, and for the most part, I let them make the decision, not me, because I'm too close to it. Right. So I have somebody who, usually, I have somebody who is, I hope they're not listening, who is, a real devil's advocate, like
Mm.
really, I didn't say it right, is really negative. He's the most negative person I know. And so whatever I put in front of him, he's just so negative about it that I have to fight for it.
So good.
And it's my money, it's my company,
Yeah.
but, I have him and I have Sabine, and, uh, they know, um, uh, because 'cause they've been around me long enough to know me and know when to stand up to me. So I don't need yes people, right? I need people that will say, "Hey, Lauren, we need to pivot." All right. And if somebody doesn't say that to me, I may not even think about it.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm so close to my belief in what we're doing. All right. And maybe it's just a little pivot,
Yeah.
but maybe it's a huge pivot. And so I used to tell people when they said that, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's your money. You can talk. But I learned that was stupid. Right? And that I have to be open to other people's criticism, comments, and advice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that speaks wisdom that you can actually, going down and there's a lot of money sitting there and then you're hearing it and it can be like, "Oh, why are you being negative?" But they're really coming from a place of like wanting to help you.
Yeah, I
And
think they're coming from a place of love,
yeah,
right?
that's right.
Because to stand up to me, you gotta love me.
So, no, 100%. My wife Joanna, she's the best at it. She'll let me know very quickly, and it's true. Like you got to be able to fight for it, right? And to be able to back it up. And if you start giving your opinion, and all of a sudden you hear yourself as like, ah, that's actually pretty weak.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something that is another really important thing in my process is meet the partner.
Okay,
So I never ever close a deal without meeting the partner of the person I'm investing in.
okay,
I always meet the wife, the whatever they call their partner, and that's maybe the most important thing in the process. Is it's just so simple,
yeah,
right? And it's why would you not do that? But you've got 50 pages of due diligence, and there's probably four things that matter. Meet the wife, meet the partner, right? That's top 4.
why?
Um, because if she's not happy or he's not happy, that's a big issue.
Yeah,
They're open and honest, where sometimes we're not, right? And, I need them to be happy more than anything. So if my partner's happy, then I'm happy, and then, uh, uh, I'm more successful. And I want them to understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur or to work for an entrepreneur.
mm,
And if I get the wrong vibe and I say, listen, we work 7/24, you're going to be the first person in, the last person to leave, and we don't know any hours, and we don't work 40-hour weeks. We probably work 60 or 80 hours. And I get that look
yeah,
out of there immediately.
yeah,
Yeah. I need them to feel the same way that I feel and that my team feels.
yeah. That's such wisdom, such wisdom. It's a partnership there, right? And so uh, eventually you'll hear about it if you don't have the partner involved and on board at the same time, because then you're fighting. That person is fighting for the business, and they're also fighting at home, and eventually, somebody's got to
I'm going to
lose.
lose. The
Yeah,
business is going to
business
lose.
is going to lose. You got it. Lauren, do you do any like consistent, say, think time? I know you had mentioned sometimes at night you're writing down, but do you work it into your schedule as a regular rhythm, or is it more so when opportunities come up you sit with your pad, or is it more of a frequent routine that you follow for think time?
Um, I don't. I have certain things that I do that are part of my thinking process. So, I'm on the treadmill for half an hour every morning. That's a time that I think, right? I don't do calls. Don't look at my phone when I'm on that because I'm going to hurt myself. I need to pay attention.
Yeah,
But it's my thinking time,
that's good.
right? Definitely late at night,
Yeah,
when everybody's gone to bed and I maybe have an hour or 45 minutes to myself. So I know I have to do it, but I don't have a set routine
yeah,
because I don't have a set routine. So I have no idea. I had no idea till this morning that I was doing this podcast. I have no idea what I'm doing tomorrow or what I'm doing in a week from now. So it's always I look it's back to what could kill me. I look the night before, I usually look the morning before, of what's gonna happen the next day and what I need to do, so I don't hurt myself. And if you notice, we've probably been talking about this for a little bit, about this interview. And if you notice this morning, I sent something to you saying, hey, I just want to confirm the interview's coming up. If you could give me some questions or something that would help me
yeah.
prepare better for this, that would help me. Right. And the point of why I'm bringing that up is that was today.
Got it.
Right. So I'm present. So I know that I spent some time today before this preparing for this.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's like, the people that you're spending time with, you're 100% dialed in and focused,
With
and
presence.
right. That's a big one, when you're having conversations and people are texting while you're speaking with them, it just
No, I'll get up and leave.
yeah.
If I'm
Okay.
at dinner and, somebody pulls out their cell phone and starts texting, I leave dinner.
You leave
I
dinner.
think it's the most rude thing you could do to somebody
Yeah.
I know immediately when I sit down if they're gonna do it because they sit down at the table and they put their phone right next to their plate.
Oh,
I don't bring my phone to the table, right?
yeah,
Because I don't want the distraction.
right.
And I've taken this time, whatever it is, half an hour or hour out of my schedule to focus on you, and you can't focus on me.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's just common courtesy.
yeah. Well, you know your worth, and you're giving your best, and it's not much to ask for their best as well. We all have a certain amount of time on this earth, right? So honoring time, I think, is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, and if you probably as you get to know me, I don't read my emails and I don't answer my phone.
Mm,
Um, uh, I have people that do that and know how to get me when they need a decision, but I empower people.
yeah,
And so I have a couple people who read my emails and deal with all the things, and they know when they need me, and they even Emily, my partner, will call Sabine and say, "I need Lauren," right? Um, because half the time I don't even have my phone with me. And I think that's good. I mean, I think the phone, doesn't allow you to be present.
yeah. It's an interesting thing. So you have a guy like Richard Branson, and he has one 15-minute meeting in the morning with his assistant that runs all of his companies. So if Richard Branson doing it and you're doing it, it's possible. What you've been able to do is empower people, as you had mentioned, to be able to make decisions with it. So how would you go about building that kind of infrastructure? So you have your growing business, you have the ability to hire people. uh, I think first making it an important part of, listen, like I know what my most important part is coming up with a strategy and getting the right people in the room and having your 10 conversations a day. Like, you got to do that, right? That's where you've nailed down your highest priority. How would you go about building kind of an internal team? Like, what does that look like? Somebody's watching emails, somebody's taking calls, like, for yourself, and maybe you could even generalize it for the listeners and how to do that.
Um, it's finding the right person, right? And then uh empowering them.
Hmm.
And that's a hard thing for somebody who's used to micromanaging everything. And uh I've learned over time that the most important thing to me in the process is I'm the keeper of the brand. So all I want to do is see any time that brand is going to be in front of people. I want to see it before. And so our current brand is called Space Asterisk. Um, Space is always lowercase. Every person wants to make that S capital.
Got it.
I won't allow that. And so that decision nobody else makes. And the other decisions um, aren't as critical to me. And so I should say aren't as critical, but they're not where my strength is.
Got it.
And and I can be cranky and I can be difficult and I can be tired and I can be old. And so that's a formula for a disaster. And so I need to have young, enthusiastic people around me who know me
Mm,
and uh, know to make sure that in my case, what's important to me is that I look good, right? And I'm incredibly vain, but I never look in the mirror, ever. So it's really important that I have somebody who says, Lauren, there's like, white stuff like, around your ear because you didn't, wash the soap off when you showered or whatever it is,
yeah.
or your flies undone, right? And those are simple things. And you see it all the time with people that they just forget something.
Yeah.
In my case, it's really important that it's perfect. I spend an hour before I leave every morning in my house making sure everything's perfect.
Um, so to kind of wrap this, so keeper of the brand, that's very important to you. Making sure that you're bringing capital in, so you're always having like 10 conversations a day. Is there anything else that you would say, like, this is like the kind of the third or fourth thing that you're like, this is critical, and this is where I make sure I don't bend on this, and I'm putting my time here?
We talked about pivot, which I think is an important one in that process. And um, I would say the confidence to believe in you.
Got it.
So we go out in what you do and I do, and we invest in other people.
Yeah.
And I've not really been as successful as in that as I've been investing in myself, right? Because I know what I'm good at. And I tell people, a lot of, YPOers, and a lot of young people, is that if I would have known all I had to do was get to 50, I would have relaxed a long time ago. And meaning that by the time you're 50, you get it. And meaning that if you're having a meeting with somebody and you don't understand, it's not because you're not smart. It's because they're stupid or they're trying to do something, pull something fast off on you. But I know, when you're 50, you made a lot of mistakes and you have the confidence in yourself to say, no, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or
Hmm.
he's trying to con me, or a whole bunch of different things. And also the confidence in yourself. And I'm a student of history. And I've probably read every biography of every famous person. I've definitely read every biography of every retailer, and every retailer wrote a biography. So Marshall Fields, Eaton's, it didn't matter. Every one of them wrote a book about their retail business. I read every one of those books, right? And and same thing about successful people. And most of them, including me, weren't successful till they were 65.
Hmm.
So if you look around, it's fact. Right now, maybe you meet, a Zuckerberg or somebody that doesn't conform to that. But for the most part, that's true. And so it comes back to this, understanding time frame in life and not getting, agitated or depressed about it. And I was recently with a very, very successful entrepreneur, and I said to him, like, you are perfectly on track in my formula of 3, 3, and 4 years, like the 10-year process. And he said, "Oh, Lord, I feel so much better. Like, I'm convinced that I'm a failure."
Yeah.
Um, and it isn't. It's just takes a long time to do things. And uh, yeah, part
Well,
of it's being 50.
so that's so good. Yeah, and Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, with the 500 people that he interviewed, he pretty much said that same thing. Like between 40 and 50 is really where you start to gain momentum. And it's interesting from an age standpoint. You have like, social media, it's all these overnight successes. And the reality is it's built one brick at a time, all solid businesses.
A brand is built one customer at a time,
Yeah.
one person at a time. So if I touch 10 people, or in my case, I try to touch, 25 people every day. And I count it, right? It's because that's how you build a customer. That's how you build a brand.
That's really
Um,
good.
you have to stick to doing that. And as I've said a number of times in this conversation, it's not about being the smartest guy in the room. And that's again back to the, being 50 is that, um, uh, you look at somebody and you say, "Well, he's so smart." Is he 5% smarter than you? Is he 10%? He's not 100% smarter than you, right? So let's say he's 10% smarter than you. Does that 10% matter?
Right.
It doesn't,
Right.
right? So you shouldn't get upset that this guy's so smart. If you have an education
Yeah.
and you go to university, we're all the same smart,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's just understanding that
Hmm. Yeah.
and trusting yourself.
Yeah. Such wisdom. Lauren, I want to transition the conversation a bit because there's so many nuggets there, but I want to talk about advisory boards. So you sit on a number of advisory boards, you've built companies. Um, what is the benefit of having an advisory board for a growing, scaling company? And how would you go about even starting to, build an advisory board for a growing, scaling company?
Next to capital, it might be the most important thing
Okay.
is that count on their reputation to help you through what you don't know. And so I generally again have a bit of a formula. Um, uh, it's always an odd number. So 3, 5, or 7. And there's always an accountant, and there's always a lawyer in that 7. There's also an industry expert. And so generally when I'm going into a sector, I'm not the industry expert. So I need somebody who's an industry expert. Okay. And then back to what I said earlier, I need somebody who's so negative that uh, they're going to challenge everything we do. And then it's usually somebody on that board that knows me so or advisory board that knows me so well that they can say to the other people, "He knows what he's doing when it comes to this." And so it's really the most important thing to me is that advisory board. And most people don't think about it,
Yeah.
right? And I probably give up 5% of the company from day one for that advisory board.
It's so interesting because you formalize it and then you meet what, like on a monthly basis with this group
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh. Maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depends on where we are in the process. And, a lot of it, comes from my forum to a certain extent. My YPO forum network allows me to, it's one of the great things about YPO, and for those people who don't know what YPO is, it's an organization called Young Presidents Organization, and the premise is better presidency through education.
mm,
And so it's all about that, right? And I think YPO is 35,000 people today, Mark, and it's the industry experts. So I get out the handbook or I look on the computer and I'll say, let's say it's metal, steel, or something, or concrete. Concrete's a great example. I'll look for who's a concrete expert, and I'll find that Ken Tannenbaum, is the concrete expert. And so I generally, part of my process of deciding whether I'm going to engage in something is 3 phone calls. And they happen. The first thing that I do in the process is get a written agreement with somebody
hmm,
that based on what I'm going to do, I'm going to get paid for what I do. And I don't even start thinking till I get that signed. And then the next process is I call 3 industry experts. And if none of them are interested, I drop it. If one of them is semi-interested, then I'll call 3 more,
okay.
right?
Interesting. Because there, if it's a good idea, you're going to get one of those three saying, "Yes, I'm interested."
Yeah, and I'm not an industry expert,
Yeah.
so what do I know if this is going to be important in the industry? So today, time is my most valuable asset, and you spend so much time making decisions
Hmm.
that I don't have time.
Yeah.
So I need to cut to the chase quickly and find out if it's worth me doing. Because when somebody says to me they're going to create something, I mean, this is a true story, but through YPO, somebody came to me, I don't know, 20 some odd years ago, and said to me, um, and he was successful, and he said, "I've got this new concept, and Lauren, I want you to raise the money for me." All right. And I think at the time I'd never raised that amount of money. I think probably I'd raised 20 million, and this guy wanted me to raise 75 million. And I had no idea what he was talking about.
Hmm.
In fact, I thought it was telephony. It's telephony. And he said to me, what I'm doing is going to allow you to talk to your phone, talk to your car, ask them what the weather is,
Hmm.
ask them, how do I get from A to B? And they're going to tell you. And I thought, interesting. And the first thing, well, I'll call it the third thing I do in the process is I go to the industry trade show and I find out if the pain that this person is talking about is real. That company became Surrey. Okay. And I made a lot of money. And it was because I was open and because I followed my formula. I went to the trade show and I could see it wasn't telephony, it was telephony. And I could see how this was going to change everything. And it's like, if you study great entrepreneurs, it's like Ted Rogers. Somebody showed him a cell phone and he just knew it. Right. And everybody else was thinking, man, nobody's going to carry that heavy thing. Right. And at the time, Ted Rogers, like successful entrepreneurs, we used to carry the phone in the suitcase. right? That was a portable phone, right? And you had the suitcase, and you would open it up, and you say, operator, come in, operator, come in, and the operator would come in and connect you and say, please connect me with 647, whatever the number is, and all that would take place, right? But when you showed them something that was 4 inches by 5 inches and said that's going to do the same thing, it scared people.
Yeah.
Tim Rogers just locked it up,
He knew.
right, and spent probably $1 billion before he made any money.
Mm. He went all in.
So I think it's that kind of thing is understanding change.
Yeah.
And I grew up without television, right? And television didn't come into my life till I was 10, and color TV didn't come into my life till I was probably 15,
Yeah.
right? And we forget um, uh, about time. And so, when did the first iPhone come out?
Yeah. Like
I think it was
it,
2006. I can't
yeah,
remember.
yeah, but yeah, we'll call it
2006,
we'll
right?
call it
That's
like 15. Yeah.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
right? I mean, think about it. Think
Yeah.
about the change in
It's
our
incredible.
lives to not having a cell phone,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's
And
only getting
and
faster.
it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
So, imagine how fast change is going to happen. And I love AI. Claude is my best friend, right? Because it allows me to do things faster that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest thing in doing anything is the research. And that's so expensive and nobody wants to pay for it. Well, chat or Claude, I mean, tell me what's happened. Give me the research, right? And recently, I've been involved in a legal battle, right? And they came out with the results of the process, right?
Yeah.
And it was a
The judgment. Yeah.
102-page document, right? The
Yeah.
judgment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 102 pages. I called up the lawyer and I said, "Hey, listen, did you see it?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll look at it over the weekend, right? And I'll call you Monday. I'll tell you what's going on." I feed it into chat,
Yeah.
okay? And 10 minutes later, I get the exact things he's gonna tell me on Monday, and I didn't spend $100,000,
Yeah.
right? So that's where it becomes so incredible. Now, do I expect that AI person to fight my case or do any of that? They won't. But that research component, when you're an architect and somebody hires you to do a school, you have to do like a sick amount of
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
And it's probably 50% of the fee. Nobody's paying you that.
Yeah. Right. Got it. Lauren, this is this such nugget after nugget. Last question before we get into the rapid fire. What investment advice would you have for the listeners out there? You've looked at a lot of different investments. You've given some good nuggets along the way for what, how to size people up and, how to make decisions. But just overall investing, what are some of the main things you look for when you look for and make decisions on investing in certain areas or not?
Honesty. I want people to be honest with me. And I tell people, especially people in my close circle, is we all make mistakes. Shit happens. I wanna be the first call when that happens.
Mm,
Don't think you can solve it yourself,
mm,
okay? Call me immediately. We'll solve it together, or we'll solve it with some other people. That's all I want is be honest with me and tell me when we have a problem, and don't try to solve it yourself
yeah,
because that's a recipe for disaster.
yeah,
Let's get the smartest people and figure it out, and let's do it calmly so that, it's less stressful.
yeah, yeah, and as quick as possible, right? Rather than prolonging it, and it only exacerbates and gets worse, right? So,
Yeah, and stress will only hurt the process, not help it.
yeah, so good. Lauren, you ready for rapid fire of three last questions, and then we're
Sure.
going to wrap it up. All right. So, first question. I'm a big reader, love reading. I know you had mentioned Jim Collins. You're a big fan as well. Which book for you has made the biggest impact in your career? You've read a lot of biographies as well. I'm curious which one is really kind of stands out.
I'd probably have to say 3. It'd be hard for me to narrow it down. Um, uh, Smart people read 50 books a year. That's a proven fact, right? So, you have to read a lot, right? But books that have stood out, Malcolm Gladwell, The Tipping Point. It's I just saw him recently. It's 20 years old, and there's a chapter in there called The Three Lessons of Owen Mooney, and it talks about how the most successful people in the world are children of retailers, and immigrants, and that had a huge influence for me because I'm the child of an immigrant, out of the retail community,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize till I read that what was going to make me successful.
Hmm.
And Another person that I follow a lot, um, now I'm gonna have this like memory blank. Michael Pollan. Okay. And Michael wrote a book, I don't know, 25 years ago, um, called The Omnivore's Dilemma. And it was about whether we should eat meat or not. And in it, he talks about how he has to go back in time, and history was about hunters and gatherers. That's what we were, right? And so he has to go out and hunt a animal, right? And it's not in his sort of DNA, but he's trying to do this research. And as he's pulling the trigger, he said he had a cannabinoid moment. And I'd never heard anybody refer to cannabis that way. And what he was talking about, and he was the first person that I knew that was talking about our endocannabinoid system. And so in human body, we have an endocannabinoid system, and that's cannabis, right? And so our body produces endorphins, and one of them is through our cannabinoid system. And so I understood how important cannabis was. And that was a really important thing. The third thing book was probably a book that I read in the mid 80s called The Popcorn Report. And it was written by a woman named Faith Popcorn, and she was the guru futurist. And uh, she wrote a book about what the future was going to look like. And in that book, she said that cannabis was going to become part of our lifestyle
Hmm.
since 1984, okay, maybe 85. Um, uh, uh, the other person that read that book was a guy named David Klein. And I'm sure his 2 bosses read it, which are the Sands brothers. We're talking Constellation Brands, and they made me really, really rich. And they invested $5 billion in 2017 into the cannabis industry. And I asked David, like, how? And he said he read the Popcorn Report.
Really?
And I said, me too. And we're both children of immigrants. It was that moment that I understood that the wisdom of crowds. So the fourth book would be a book that was written called The Wisdom of Crowds by James Serendipity. And that was Facebook, was basically it said, we will make better decisions as a community than one person. And it changed my life. So those books, they really did. And that's why I read 50 books a year, because I don't know which book is going to influence my next year or 5 years or 10 years
Oh
of my life.
man, that's so good, and that's so inspiring and encouraging to, for the listeners to read more.
Yeah, read and watch movies. Culture, like movies are a incredible picture of a moment in time, right? And somebody said to me, I said to somebody who was very successful, like, one of your things as you do, Mark, like, what is it? And he said, I read 10 newspapers every morning. And I said, "Why?" And I said, "Is that to, know what's coming?"
Hmm.
And he said, "No, that's to know what's happened, because if it's in the paper, it's happened already,
Got it.
not something that's gonna happen."
Hmm.
So, I know what's happened. So if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm gonna develop this app to do something," it may have happened already
Got it.
because I read about it.
Yeah. So good. Thank you for that response there. So much there that we can dig into. Um, Next question is three words that people that know you best, Lauren. How would they best describe you if they had three words?
I would hope, they would say these 3 words, and, they're Jewish words, so they might be lost in translation a bit, but on my father's tombstone, it says, "A man who believed in, tzedakah," which is charity, menschkeit was, doing the right thing, and seichel, which is street smarts, and that's me. In a nutshell. And that it was written on my father's tombstone, and that is carried through my life and hopefully my children and grandchildren. That's important. And uh, 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 I was very fortunate in that my father was successful, so I stand on the shoulders of greatness. But my father was very clear to me: "Don't my name up. Don't our name up." Like, simple things. And he said, "Don't fight with your siblings and be happy and make the world a better place." And that's what I would say to everybody who's listening to this. Be happy. And if you talk to 99% of the people you talk to, they're just not happy, right? Because they made a decision somewhere along the path to do something that they didn't want to do.
So good. There's a
Happy. You know, if you're happy,
Yeah.
you'll be successful. If you're not, there's not a chance.
Lauren, it's interesting you say that because there was this palliative nurse. I forget the author's name, but she wrote a book where she interviewed these people on their deathbed and what were the main regrets that they had on their deathbed. And actually, one of them was, "I wish I would have allowed myself to be happy." That was
Yeah.
one of the top regrets that people on their deathbed had.
Okay. Do you want to know mine?
Go ahead.
Is that I didn't spend, and I don't really have any regrets.
Yeah.
But I didn't spend enough time with my parents when they were um in their last inning.
Hmm.
Because I was so busy with myself, and I was so busy with my children, and I was so busy
Yeah.
um, trying to prove to the world that I could be successful, that I missed it.
Hmm.
And I miss my mother and father every day. And that I blew that opportunity to spend a little more time with them because I was so self centered is a regret.
Hmm. That's so such.
I mean, I would say that our biggest prejudice is old people and
Hmm.
old things. It's not Jewish people or black people, it's old people.
Hmm.
We're the largest minority and we're becoming the majority. And people hate old people. They don't want to spend time with old people. They We live in a world where old is not good.
Hmm.
And so cars were built to last 50 years. 3 years old, we get rid of them. Fridge.
Right.
Your fridge after 3 years, all right? Or anything we do, because old is a bad word.
Hmm.
Well, in my world, old is the best thing you can be
Yeah.
because you have the wisdom and
Wisdom.
experience,
Yeah.
and also the proof of
Yeah.
what you do. So, do I need a better fridge? I don't think so. I needed a better fridge when they were ice boxes, but do I need one today to tell me that I need milk because it measures, the weight of that piece of glass? It's not going to make me a better person, right? I need things that are going to make me a better person.
Yeah, I totally agree with the wisdom part of it. It's actually we're spending a good part of our year down in Naples, Florida now, and when we go to a show, you look out and we're the youngest by far. I'm like, look at all that wisdom out there, honey. And
I just recently went on a board that was a dream of mine to be on. And the chairman of the board is 98 years old. And I just turned 70 and I'm the youngest board member. All right. And we are smart,
yeah,
right? Because we have age and history and legacy.
yeah, 100%. Final question here, Lauren. This has been inspiring. This conversation, so much wisdom and insight. Um, what final advice would you have for the entrepreneurs that are out there? I mean, you've given so much of it here, but are there any last pieces of advice that you want to give the listeners for today?
I think I probably said it already. It's just be happy.
Yeah,
Be happy. Believe in yourself. All right. And don't beat yourself up when things don't go the way you want them to go. It had nothing to do with you.
yeah,
Timing, process, all of that. So maybe love yourself.
yeah. That's good. Well, Lauren, this has been a real honor to have this conversation with you. I really appreciate your time. If the listeners want to learn a little bit more about your businesses, or perhaps reach out to any of your businesses, what's the best way that they could maybe learn a little bit
Email.
more? Yeah,
I'm lgertner at helengertner.com.
yeah,
I've never changed my email. I did once. And funny story about that is when I started Tokyo Smoke, I was Lorne at Tokyo Smoke.
yeah,
And I became Lorne at Tokyo Smoke. It became me. And when we sold the company to Canopy, about 6 months after we sold it, Sabine came to me. She said, "You know, we still own the URL." Right? And I called up Bruce and I said, "Bruce, you won't believe it, right? You know, we still own the URL, right?" And I, Bruce said, like, "Warren, what the f- I paid you $650 million. You're not going to hold me up for ransom." And I said, Bruce, all I want is for the rest of my life to be Lauren at Tokyo Smoke. So I'm Lauren at Tokyo Smoke, but I'm really Lauren at Hillengert.
yeah. Very cool, Lauren. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really, really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, and uh, I hope that this inspires people to be a little better than they would have been without it. And there's no stupid questions. When you don't understand something, don't think, look smart and say, "Sure." Ask the question, right? And you'll keep learning every day.
Yeah, which is one of the secrets to success. Keep learning. Well, thank you everyone for listening today. If you enjoyed the show, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And just remember, guys, the fastest way to build your wealth is to grow your business and invest in real estate. I love you guys.